Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, the time is upon us, or rather, the time is upon us now, the time this video is going out. I'm actually recording this video one day before the new selection pack release, and that is going to be for Lord of Dimensions. Now, Lord of Dimensions contains quite a few new archetypes, actually, and supports for previous archetypes, but there is one archetype in particular that a lot of people are talking about, and that is, of course, going to be the Fire King deck. Indeed, Fire King has emerged alongside Snake Eye, both in terms of like being played alongside pure Snake Eye decks and being played with Snake Eye in its own deck, as one of the top decks in both the TCG and OCG meta at the time of this video going out. Also, real quick, speaking of the time of this video going out, this video, if it's the first couple of hours that you're watching this after the video has been released, then I am actually currently streaming my pack opening / deck testing for the new selection pack. So if you're interested in checking that out, feel free to check out the Twitch link below, and even if it is past me being live, you will still be able to catch the VOD there. If not there, it will be uploaded later also on my second YouTube channel, again, link in the description below. But I figured we would take today, as we usually do when big new archetypes come out, to really talk about the new Fire King cards, what they look like, what they do, and which ones you can expect to use for your Fire King deck. One thing I do want to say though, before we get started here, I've seen a lot of people say that like, oh, the Snake Eye hits on the ban list don't matter because Fire King is coming out, and then that's a new way to play Snake Eye, and it'll be just as good as it was before. I don't necessarily think this is going to be the case, because a lot of Fire King Snake Eye's combo lines do require you to open Snake Eye Ash, which, as we all know at the time of this video going out, is now at 1, meaning that you will be doing far less of those combo lines. Now, from what I can tell in my research, there are some other kind of niche lines you can do if you open Poplar plus Diabel, but I would expect that more often, well, maybe not more often than not, but I would expect that a significant amount of the time, you're not going to be able to pull off the same clean combos because you just simply won't have access to Snake Eye Ash in your opening hand. So that said, I do expect that Fire King will still be an extremely good deck, and I do still expect that it will be paired with Snake Eye. So like I said, we're going to start looking at some of the new cards that are expected to come out. The cards that we're going to cover came out in the TCG / OCG in the same structure deck as the new Xyz monster did. So we're going to be taking a look at those one card at a time here, and we'll pop on over here to Wikipedia to do so. Again, I don't know for certain that all of these cards will be out, but again, they all came in the same structure deck. I would be extremely surprised if one of these got left out. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and just start here at the top with Sacred Fire King Garunix. This is a level 8 Fire Winged Beast with 2,700 attack and 1,700 defense. It says, if a monster that was originally fire is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard if it was there when the monster was destroyed, or hand even if not. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can destroy one Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster in your hand, deck, or face-up field, except Sacred Fire King Garunix. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the attack of the destroyed monster it had. Wait, sorry, let me rephrase that. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's attack it had there until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Sacred King Fire Garunix once per turn. So, the somewhat boss monster, I guess, quote-unquote, of the deck here, or at least the main deck boss monster, Sacred Fire King Garunix, I think, is a pretty obvious choice for the deck. It'll only be played at 1 copy, typically, but if you just, I mean, the way this card reads, it's almost exactly like Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, right? Which we all know is a very, very good tool for the Snake Eye decks, and is very good at helping you OTK. Moreover, it's also very, very easy to proc with the Promethean Princess, much like the Sacred Fire King Garunix here is. Like I said, I would definitely expect to see a single copy in pretty much every Snake Eyes Fire King deck, or maybe some other... If you're playing a more pure Fire King deck, then maybe you play more than one. I haven't looked as much into those as I have just Snake Eye Fire King. But that said, you know, Snake Eye is not the only way to play Fire King. In fact, I've had more than one person ask me about Tri-Brigade Fire King. Could definitely see myself doing that as well. But yeah, again, I'm gonna for this video, for the all intents and purposes of it, I know most people are gonna be thinking about Snake Eye Fire King, so we're gonna focus on that. But yeah, this card is pretty good. I would run a single copy in the Snake Eye Fire King list. Alright, going over to the next card, we have Fire King High Avatar Kieran. Note, this card is actually semi-limited already in the OCG, but from what I can tell, most builds play 2 anyway, so anyway, let's take a look at this one here. Fire King High Avatar Kieran, not to be confused with Fire King Avatar Kieran, that is a separate monster, but Fire King High Avatar Kieran is a level 8 fire beast with 2,400 attack and 200 defense points. Has an effect that says, during the main phase, if this card is in your hand, quick effect, you can destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face upon the field, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Fire King monster from your hand or graveyard except Fire King High Avatar Kieran, then you can destroy one card in the field. You can only use each effect of Fire King High Avatar Kieran once per turn. So this is another card that you can definitely expect to see played in the deck. And as I alluded to earlier, I think from what I can tell on my research, again, I haven't actually played with this deck yet, but I have been looking at some top cut lists from both the TCG and OCG. And it seems like despite the fact this card was semi-limited, you often just played 2 anyway. So I don't know if that hit really did a lot there in the OCG, but this is definitely another pretty important tool for the Fire King deck. It is a way to destroy your fire monsters other than Promethean Princess, which can definitely come up quite a bit. And also, let's see. Yeah, this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard. You can special Fire King from your hand to graveyard, then destroy one card on the field. So it's not hard to proc that, not only in general, but even during the opponent's turn. In fact, if we look back at Sacred Fire King Garunix, this card can even pop the Kieran from the deck if you wanted to, right? So again, not only does this act as an extra body and a way to proc your fire monsters being destroyed, but it can also potentially act as disruption, destroying cards on the field during your opponent's turn. Again, very, very good card for the archetype as a whole, but also for Fire King Snake Eye. Alright, I scrolled down here a bit. Legendary Fire King Ponic. This is going to be another big part of the deck here, despite being just a little monster. It's only level 1. It is a Fire Wing Beast that is level 1. Fire, level 1. Might have heard of that combination of stats before. 500 attack, 200 defense. This card says, if your monster that was originally fire is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Fire King spell or trap card from your deck to the hand. During the next standby phase after this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, add this card from the graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of Legendary Fire King Ponic once per turn. Wow, so this card is pretty comparable to Poplar in a lot of ways, actually. It's got a special summon effect, it's got a recursion effect, and it's also got a search for your archetype spell or trap card. And, of course, as we pointed out earlier, much like Poplar, it is a level 1 fire monster, meaning this is summonable off of original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye. And a lot of the main reason why you would want to combine, well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to want to. They're both fire, they care about destroying stuff, but this being level 1 especially makes the original sin pretty much always a part of Fire King. Even if you're not going like full Snake Eye, it's probably worth playing Original Sin and Diabel just to be able to turbo this out more quickly. The Ponic, and it's weird to me that it is Ponic. There's no H in the after the P or E after the I, before the I don't know. Anyway, but that is in fact what it's called. Yeah, this card is obviously pretty big for the deck. I think you typically only play one copy. I actually still have some lists pulled up on another tab over here I could take a look at. Yeah, it looks like you pretty much only play the one copy, so not like it's needed in 3 of if this card does end up being a UR, which I suspect it probably will be, honestly, being such an important main deck tool for the deck here, but yeah, all you really need for Fire King Snake Eye is 1, summon off of Poplar, or not Poplar, jeez, the Original Sin, and then you are good to go for searching your Fire King spell and trap cards. We'll talk about which ones you'll want to be searching here in just a moment. Also, as we go through these, do remember that Fire King is not a brand new archetype. It has had support before. So if we don't cover a certain card that you know is in Fire King Snake Eye, and you're like, what? Why don't we talk about that? It's because that is the already previously released card. Again, we're covering the new Fire King cards here in this video today. So Let's talk about the next one here, Fire King Avatar Rangbali. This is a Fire level 4 Beast Warrior, 1600 attack, 200 defense. I like how these all have 200 defense. Like, it's so funny. Back in the day, you know, Konami had to be kind of careful about not printing fire monsters that had 200 defense because of a certain card called Rekindling, which is soul charge for fire monsters with 200 defense. But nowadays, it seems like there's so many of them that have 200 defense. Like, it's like Konami's like, oh, darn, we made another one, another Rekindling target. Oh, please don't play that card. And it's like, we're not going to, don't worry. But anyway. Alright, if a face-up Fire King monster you control is destroyed by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. When a spell / trap card or effect is activated, while this card is face-up on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face-up field. You can only use each effect of Fire King Avatar Rangbali once per turn. So, this card is like kind of reminiscent of Sprite Carrot a little bit. It's like, it's a smaller main deck monster that still wants to be on the field after your combo line so that way you can use it as spell trap disruption. And it does also have the extension ability that a lot of Fire King cards have of being able to special from the hand if a fire monster you control. Well, this one does state that specifically a Fire King has to be destroyed by a card effect in order to special it from the hand. For the reason that its summon condition is a little restrictive, well, that's not even a major reason, right? This card actually, I don't think ends up making the cut a lot of the time. Again, I can take a look here. I didn't see it in the few tournament lists that I looked over, and I suspect this card is just like, it's not like the most searchable. I mean, you do get searches in Fire King, sure, but you have to search some of the other stuff we already talked about to set up your combo line, right? And even then, like, this is still pretty conditional. Like, you have to have this on the field, you have to have another fire monster you want to pop. It's actually not that hard to have another fire monster you want to pop, but I think really just trying to get this on the field consistently is the big struggle. I don't think this card is bad, but in Fire King Snake Eye, you don't have to play it. Alright, now we're going on to the extra deck monster, Garunix Eternity, Hyang of the Fire Kings. Apologies if I butchered that pronunciation there. This is going to be an Xyz monster. It is a rank 8 Fire Pyro, 3000 attack and 2000 defense. Material requirements are 2 or more level 8 monsters. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can destroy all other monsters on the field. You can detach one material from this card and target one spell trap card on the field, destroy it, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack. If this card is destroyed while it has a material, you can special summon Fire King monsters from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card had. You can only use each effect of Garunix Eternity, Hyang of the Fire Kings, once per turn. So, this card here, this card here, funnily enough, it actually does not really see play in Fire King Snake Eye. While you do play multiple level 8 monsters, you don't really go for this card like on turn 1 because of the effects, right? Like, I think the main thing this card kind of has going against it in modern Yu-Gi-Oh is that it's not a turn 1 card, and especially in Master Duel in Best of 1. Like, if you've got a card that does not do anything on the first turn. Now, granted, this card could actually, in theory, destroy some of your own Fire Kings on turn 1 and maybe proc some effects, but to do all of that by going into a rank 8 is a lot to ask, and really, you know, you're really looking to board wipe your opponent with this. So, again, when you have a card that is specifically only useful on turn 2 or later, and again, especially doubly, triply, quadruply true in Master Duel, that card tends to be not quite as useful. So, again, from the research that I've done, I cannot see lists that are using this card, or if they are, it's really not consistently at all. It's like, if you have an extra deck space, I guess you could slot it in, but you could also slot in, like, any number of Link monsters. However, that said, even if you don't end up playing this in Fire King Snake Eye, I think this is still not a bad card to have because it is a generic rank 8. And there's an engine that was released pretty recently that can turbo out a lot of level 8 monsters pretty quickly. I'm, of course, speaking of the Horus archetype. So even if you don't end up playing this in Fire King Snake Eye, I still think it's worth hanging on to a copy of this card if you play Horus decks, because it is worth considering there. Now, again, this is a strictly going second card, especially in those Horus decks, and there are better rank 8s to make for turn 1. That said, I would keep it in mind as an option. right? I think almost any generic Xyz monster that has a good effect is worth keeping in mind. And while I have said, oh, this card isn't good for going first, make no mistake, this is a good card overall. Again, just not on turn 1. But, yeah, that's kind of what I think of the rank 8 here. This is going to be one of the URs, so I guess good news if you are only looking to play Fire King Snake Eye, you don't necessarily have to pick this up in order to play the deck, and indeed, like I said, this will be a UR that was more or less confirmed to us in client already. Okay, Fire King Consort Ulkanix. This one actually did not come out in the structure deck, but I'm going to include it because I think it would be weird to not release it now. Because there's not like another batch of Fire King support that we're waiting on. And again, I think it'd be weird to release this one card later, although they have done that before with like Burley and stuff. But yeah, Fire King Consort Ulkanix is a level 4 Fire Winged Beast, 800 attack, 2000 defense. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face a field, and if you do, add one Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast from your deck to your hand, except Fire King Consort Ulkanix. Then you can make this card's level become that monster's levels. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Fire King High Avatar Garunix from your deck in defense position. You can only use each effect of Fire King Consort Ulkanix once per turn. Ulkanix does not ultimately end up becoming really that necessary because a lot of the time your Fire King combo lines can already like set up your Avatar Garunix anyway, which is this one, right? No, that's Kieran. No, wait, hang on, that's a different monster. Jeez, if I can find it. Is this the... Yeah, okay, this is the boss of the original structure deck, okay. So this card is already out. You also don't play it in Snake Eye Fire King, so, and again, that's the focus of this video. So for Snake Eye Fire King, I think you're good on Ulkanix. One thing that I do think is kind of interesting about this card, not for the Snake Eye variant, but I can't help but notice that this card is capable of searching both Tri-Brigade Kit and Tri-Brigade Fraxel. If I recall correctly, both of those are fire, and they are definitely Beast Warrior or Wing Beast. So, although you don't need this card at all for Fire King Snake Eye, if it's Fire King Tri-Brigade, then it might be worth considering. Again, that's a maybe. You don't have to, but it does seem like it has usefulness in that regard. So, possibly, again, for other Fire King variants, this might see play, but again, if we're focusing on Fire King Snake Eye, then you don't have to worry about this one. Okay, that's it for the new monsters. Let's look at one of the new spell cards, Fire King Sanctuary. When this card is activated, you can place one Fire King Island from your deck face up in your field zone. Once per turn, if a card in your field zone would be destroyed by card effect, you can destroy one fire monster in your hand or face up on the field instead. Once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon one Fire King Xyz monster, one Fire Xyz monster using only Fire King monsters you control. You can only activate one Fire King Sanctuary per turn. So, this card is actually really good, but the main thing that it's good for is for setting up the Fire King Island in your field zone. Fire King Island is a card that has already been released, but because it's so important to this card and the deck as a whole, we can take a peek at it here anyway. If this card is placed in the field zone, sent to the graveyard, or this face-up card in the field zone is sent to the graveyard or banished, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use one of the following effects: Fire King Island once per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy a monster in your hand or field. If you do, add a Fire King monster deck to your hand. If you control no monsters, you can special summon a Fire Wing Beast from your hand. So, yeah, obviously pretty easy to see how good Fire King Island is. It also destroys any monster for the search, which is pretty wild. That's very good. A lot of the other stuff we've seen up to now has specifically wants you to destroy a fire, if not a Fire King monster. But Fire King Island is like, nah, you can pop anything and get a search, which again, pretty good. But the Fire King Sanctuary is mostly good just for setting that up in the field zone. You do play Sanctuary, still not to grab off the Ponic and then set up the island. It does have some other effects here, which, like, I don't know, I guess could come up in theory, but the list that I was looking at for decks that had tops Fire King Snake Eye don't play like any Xyz monsters. Again, I can like triple check that, but yeah, I'm looking at the list now and I don't see a single Xyz monster in these extra decks. So That effect, not the most useful. Could protect your field spell, which is like, not really that useful, to be honest. But that said, this is going to be the main card that you will end up searching off of the Ponics, and if nothing else, it does give you a little more deck thinning. So I think you still play a copy. At least the combo guide videos that I was looking at were playing a copy. And it does look like, the tournament topping builds here are also on a single copy. And I don't know, it is a little, like, very slightly odd to me that you would not just straight up search Fire King Island, because I don't feel like this card does that much more extra. But, I don't know, maybe the deck thinning is worth it, maybe one of these one of these minor effects is more important than I realize it is, but all in all, it does look like you still play a copy of this, as well as one Fire King Island, which again is a card that has already been released. Alright. Next spell card, Fire King Skyburn. This quick play spell, target equal number of Fire King monsters you control and cards your opponent controls. Destroy them. If a Fire King card you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use one Fire King Skyburn per turn. So from what I can tell, this card is not used in the tournament topping builds that I've seen, but I have seen, like, combo guide videos that I've looked at in my research that have been on this. I don't know. It's kind of iffy, right? Like, I think a lot of the time with your inboard, this is going to be like maybe a 1-for-1 pop, which is like not the best. And you don't really want to be searching this instead of like Sanctuary or Island, right? Now, that said, if you open Sanctuary or Island, then you play this, like, sure, then you could search Skyburn, but I don't know. Again, this is a little mixed from what I can tell, just from, again, looking at tournament lists and combo guides, but I don't see the TCG tournament topping list in particular on this card. I'm going to venture a guess and say you don't need it, but I don't know. If you really want another Fire King spell to search, this is probably not a bad call. It's a little hard to say, again, just looking at lists and not having actual experience of the deck, but I would say that you don't have to play this in your Snake Eye Fire King deck. Okay, and we have, I believe this is our last card here. Yes, this trap card, Echelon of the Fire Kings. Special summon 3 fire monsters, 1 beast, beast warrior, 1 wing beast, 1 of each really, 1 each from your hand, deck, and graveyard, but their effects are negated. Also destroy them during the end phase. You banish this card from your graveyard. This turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal or special summon Fire King monsters. You can only use each effect of Echelon of the Fire Kings once per turn. This one, no. It's just way too situational. Honestly, it's already situational by virtue of just being a trap card that you have to, like, it's not that, like, all archetype trap cards are unplayable. That's not what I'm getting at, but this is a card that, like, sets up a bunch of bodies on the board, and having that effect in a normal trap card is a little weird, because, like, typically, if you want to do something with those bodies, right, be it popping them by your card effects or sending them off for, like, link summons or whatever, like, either way, you want that to happen during your turn, which makes this kind of a quote-unquote turn 3 card. Like, you would have to set it on turn 1, wait through your opponent's turn, and then on your turn, your next turn, turn 3, then you can flip this up and do plays with it, sure, but, like, I don't know, it's also pretty situational in the fact that, like, you gotta summon 1 of each type. That's actually not hard, but it is kind of hard to have 1 of each in your hand, deck, and graveyard. Mostly your hand, I think, is the big one here. Like, again, you would have to set this up way ahead of time in terms of both setting the card and also having, like, everything you want to summon, including the card in hand. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think this card is where it's at, honestly. And indeed, you do not play this in, like, any Fire King Snake Eye build, so. Okay, that should be all of them there. Yep, so I can also just pull up, I guess, over here real quick. I can throw, let's pick the build from Indie. Here's the YCS Indie TCG build for Fire King Snake Eye. This is one of the main ones that I referenced because it's one of the more recent ones. And also, yeah, it topped a YCS, so that's pretty good. That's a pretty good metric here. But of course, there were also other lists that I looked at again from both TCG and OCG and combo guides as well. So if you wanted a visual, again, more of a visual reference of what all you would include in here, this is a pretty good idea. Of course, we have Snake Eye Ash Limited, which, like I said, and Wanted, which, like I said at the top of the video, you know, I see many people saying, like, oh, Fire King, like, Snake Eye's fine. You just slam Fire King into the deck and it's good. But again, all of the one-card combo lines from this deck start with Snake Eye Ash, so it is not any really easier to combo with this deck than it is a pure Snake Eye deck. And I think in the TCG, at the very least, OCG might have been a little bit more mixed, but in TCG, we saw that, and are still currently seeing, that pure Snake Eye just ends up being better than the Fire King variant. So will Fire King pull Snake Eye out of where it's at right now in Master Duel and be enough to make it... Oh, I changed my facial expression at some point by accident. Will it be enough to make it, like, you know, the best deck? I am a little bit dubious on that, but in any case, we will see it coming out here. I say we'll see it again. Gotta remember, I'm recording this the day before, so we have seen it released just now, and time will soon tell if Fire King Snake Eye does end up being the best deck in Master Duel. But for the time being, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out my pack openings again, if it's the first couple of hours after the pack or this video has gone live, then I should be streaming literally right now. But you can also check out the pack opening video. Will be out tomorrow here on the channel as well. That'll do it for now. Let's just simply move to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.